I'm Gerry Ortbals. I'm a lawyer here in St. Louis. I'm retired from the firm of Bryan Cave, uh, and I am devoting myself at this point to a number of charitable and worthwhile causes, including my continued support of Legal Services of Eastern Missouri. My initial involvement with legal services occurred in the early 80s when I was a volunteer at the homeless program at St. Patrick's Center on the north side. And at some point, they asked me if I would be willing to conduct a biweekly intake clinic for people with legal problems. And I agreed to do that, and that's the way I first became involved because I had to have backup for that program, and my backup was through legal services, so I contacted John Essner, the late Judge John Essner, who at that time was the director of the volunteer lawyer program, and we worked out a model for the clinic so that I could handle as many problems on site, but the ones that I couldn't would be referred to legal services and they would do the follow-up. Until about 1990, 89, when Rick Titleman became the president of the Bar Association of Metropolitan St. Louis, and I was the president-elect. And Rick and I were friends, and we decided to link our respective tenures as president in an effort to establish an institutional bond between the Bar Association and Legal Services of Eastern Missouri. So the first piece in that effort was the volunteer lawyer program. Quite frankly, Missouri, not so much St. Louis, but Missouri especially, had a woeful level of participation in private practitioners contributing to pro bono work. And so we decided to do something about that. And Rick and I went out hat in hand and we made calls on the 25 largest firms in St. Louis. And we told them we wanted the 25 largest firms to pledge that a minimum of 25% of their lawyers would agree to contribute a minimum of 25 hours per year to the pro bono cause. We exceeded that by a considerable amount, and we really moved the needle on volunteer lawyerism in Missouri. We moved the state from about 46th into the top 15. My next contribution to legal services was when Rick asked me to help chair the Justice for All Ball, which we established, and which became a very successful fundraising venture for our Legal Services of Eastern Missouri. And then the final piece, again at Rick's behest, I became the chairman of the building committee, the one that raised the money to buy the building on Forest Park. So those were my major efforts or initiatives on behalf of legal services in that period. But it got me thinking, your commitment to legal services can be transitory or it can be abiding. And I decided I wanted mine to be abiding. So I continued to do things with legal services, but at that same time, in the mid to late 90s, I thought, how am I going to show my support if I'm no longer here? And it became evident to me that one very effective way of doing so was to make a provision for legal services in my estate plan, which I did in sometime, I think, in the late 1990s, and that remains, and it's a substantial bequest to aid the work of legal services after I'm gone. I think it's every lawyer's duty to commit, not just take an oath, but to really commit to the provision of pro bono services. And so that's the reason I've done it through these years, and I don't regret a minute of it. I urge all of my contemporaries, all of my peers in the private practice, number one, to make a commitment to provide services through the volunteer lawyer program, and more importantly at this point, to make sure that you can provide that abiding support I've talked about by looking at your own estate plans and making sure that you make provision for legal services as one of the beneficiaries.